All right. Well, it is Katie Wagner, who's from the Great White North, not Canada, but just south of there, from Wisconsin. I've been to the
Mm-hmm.
dealerships that you've worked at in the past, and I've got to say you're really close to Minnesota as well. And you, that I know you as, is a phone, like, oh man, what are all the buzzwords in the industry? A phone guru, a phone genie, a phone
Oh,
rock
that
star.
sounds fancy.
You ran BDCs, man, and you work for a vendor now that provides, like some phone training, and you listen to phone calls and stuff like that. So I just wanted to talk shop today because, I've never called a customer. I've never called leads at a dealership in my entire life, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. Because there's a lot of negative about it, because it tends to be one of the positions in a dealership that has a revolving door. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely.
Is
Yeah,
that
if you
because
don't have the right team leaders above it, it's just a matter of a domino effect.
and that's in every kind of aspect, right? And I want to ask you about that too, about how, BDC or internet managers or whatever it is, like, what's the difference between those? And how can you, what you've seen in your experience, how do you get bumped, up the chain in that experience? Because you were managing, were you a director of a BDC?
Yeah. Make
Okay.
me feel good. Yeah. I was a director.
Yeah. You were a vice president of BDC, chief BDC
Executive.
officer. All right.
Senior.
So get me on this. So you start out, what makes you want to get into the car business when you were a wee tyke?
Yeah. I started with being a receptionist
At a dealership.
I don't know how much starting you could be. Yeah. Going to school for marketing.
How'd you get
And
that?
I was a
Like,
receptionist
who'd you know?
for dealerships.
You have to know somebody to get a
Pardon?
job in a dealership, or did you see something online or in
No,
the
that's
newspaper?
true. My husband, a fiance at the time, was a tech in the shop. So it was one of those things of, hey, I need a job. Great.
All right.
In the office staff, I went.
So then there's lots of complaints about, receptionists, about how anybody who calls the dealership, usually, if you don't have a good first person on that phone, is this agreed to? You could screw up a lot of deals.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Even now, so in my current role, it's just incredible how many times you can tell when the receptionist or greeter is rushed.
What
You can almost put a precedent on how.
What do you mean rushed? And by the way, everybody that's watching this and listening to this is not a paid kind of thing. This is just
Was that an option?
industry.
That I got paid for?
No, me getting paid. Dealer Life Today getting paid. No, it's not a paid thing. This is not a one of those. They're all over the industry where here's this advice from this consultant or this company, right? And they're paying money to give that advice. The thing is that I respect Katie, and I've seen Katie in action, and I've worked with Katie when I was with companies like Auto Alert. And so I respect her opinion, and I want to know more about the business. So receptionists, there's a whole different training you got to do with a receptionist. You just can't have, Marja Jean, who used to work at the library for 40 years and wants to do a retirement job down at the old, and she has no training. That would not work.
It wouldn't. If it would work, it wouldn't stick.
And what is
you can do one job.
What's their job? How many hats is the receptionist wearing at like a standard store selling like 100 cars a month, 150?
I would say everything. I would say if I had to give a number, at least 20. I can list them off for you, but most importantly, you're the face of the dealership. You're going to be the first one that people call in to talk with about maybe purchasing a vehicle, or maybe they're upset because the service department had an opportunity to do better and they didn't. So, gosh, I don't know, 20 hats. You can do everything from titling to writing out folders.
How important is it for the receptionist to transfer? Because I hear two different types of dealerships. Most of the dealerships I call for my own use, for what I need to get done, I get a phone tree. Press 1 to talk to our amazing sales staff. Press 2 to talk to the service department. Press 3 to talk to our office staff. Press 4, and then I end up all the way around the dealership, and then I push 0 and I end up with the receptionist. How important is it for the receptionist to pass that call on to the right department, or to just take it on themselves?
Especially if they had an incorrect phone tree where you have to press so many options,
Oof.
It's even more so valuable to have the receptionist not only connect you, but follow through and not do it like a blind transfer. Have you ever had that before? Where they call in and all of a sudden they're like, here. Yeah. That's to me, especially now listening to phone calls, I was like, even if regardless of what you sell, is still a big deal to the customer. $2,000 car to $200,000 car. Treat them in the very beginning with, okay, let me get so-and-so for you. Your welcome's always appreciated. Or even a nice greeting, even picking up the phone and saying, hi, this is Katie. We're having a great day here at XYZ dealership. Those little things, especially to the caller, so important. It's first impression.
We had a conversation a month ago talking about personas, buyer personas of the people that are calling into a dealership or people that are submitting leads. We're going to get into that in a second. I don't really give a crap if the receptionist says, we're having a great day here at XYZ Ford. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I just got a recall on my roof rack and I don't really care what's going on because I've called you 3 times now. And my favorite thing is in the blind transfers, the automatic blind transfers. So if the receptionist doesn't answer the call, it automatically after like 3 rings will go to like the used car manager for some damn reason. Right. And then it rings twice at his desk and then shoots over to his cell phone. And then he's out on the lot or he's at the auction. He's like, hey, what's up? It's Jim. I'm like, hey, Jim, I was calling about the recall on my,
It's horrible. Or even just randomly connecting you to a voicemail.
Oh,
and then their voicemail is either not set up or not even a proper greeting. It's just
there's no name.
Leave a message.
Yeah.
No name, no department.
And the other one that the complaint I have is when you call to a department and the person says you need to talk to actually this person in another department. Let me transfer you, and then it rings for 8 times, and then it goes back to the original person who completely forgot 30 seconds ago that they had just talked to you and transferred you on. Is there a book out there that teaches dealerships how to have the right phone tree, how to have the right training with your receptionist? Are there any consultants that do that that you know of? Besides, I mean, you don't do it for a business, but you'd help a couple.
No, I would help you. But at the same time, I think it comes down to common sense. If I have to press 1 for service and then I get into this huge phone tree, press 1 for recalls, press 2 for new cars, 3 for used cars. It's just too much, eliminating that, where if a caller is coming from cars.com used, why doesn't that call connect directly to the team, maybe in a hunt group per se, to those people who can help them? Ring for 3 times if it doesn't have this backup plan, so you don't have to get looped into this IVR. To say there's trainers, yeah, but
the company you work for, are they in competition with a company called Car Wars?
Yeah, they're a competitor.
Bit. They're a competitor. So maybe we can talk about you guys then. You want to say the name of your company, or you want to keep it under wraps? Oh,
no, it's CallRevu.
CallRevu. This CallRevu, if they're kind of a competitor to Call Wars, can you get, because I know that we've used phone numbers for certain, like I know that for my own company, there's a different phone number on my Google business listing than there is on my website, right? Because I want to be able to track where it's coming from. Does something like CallRevu, are you able to set it up so if there's a phone, you're using a phone number for cars.com, you're using a phone number for your website, you're using a phone for Auto Trader and a different phone number for like your service page, can you set it up so the tree recognizes that, what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't have to get in. Listen, if you're going to pimp your product, I'm going to make you pay for it. I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Actually, you would have to pay to play. It's the name of the game, but it is available. And just to be fair, it's not only available with your company, but it's also available probably with a competitor. But Katie's such a great face. I want to get into the internet department now. What's the difference between a BDC agent and an internet manager?
Roles and responsibilities.
Well, yeah, but what roles and responsibilities?
Well, it depends on the store, right? Like I work with national dealerships across the country now, which I'm super grateful for. And I look back at their roles, their titles, let's say, even a GSM, for an example.
General sales.
Completely different. Yes, a general sales manager, completely different from maybe what I was experiencing at, a small town dealership to now nationwide groups.
Right.
End of the day, just taking care of the customer, but it comes down to reporting. I would say would be a good factor.
No, give me the layman's. So this is where I think this is what happens in the industry is we get into such the weeds because I'm trying to talk layman terms here, right? I'm talking basic of the basic.
I'll break it down.
Okay, here's the thing. I got a Ford dealership in my neighborhood and I'm looking for a job, right? And I see the jobs listed in the whatever monster.com or something like that. And the Ford dealership is looking for a BDC agent and the Chevy dealership is looking for an internet manager. What's the difference of those 2 jobs?
An agent, in my experience, would work closer one-on-one to the prospects. and the customer database.
Okay, so the leads that are coming in.
Exactly. Yeah,
a
manager
business
would be able to
development,
oversee.
they're trying to develop business for the dealership.
Yep.
And so they'll deal more. And this, of course, is your opinion. There may be other people out there that disagree and be like, oh, there's no.
Oh, exactly. That's why I don't want to like.
That's why you're worried. That's why we're worried about, Sue. Use it. Just stand up. This is what Katie says. Katie says that if you have a BDC agent, their role should be working closer with the data that's coming into the inbound leads. Correct?
Yep. Miling and dialer. Yep.
And they're taking those leads.
Process-oriented folks.
So if I go to the website, abc.com, abcford.com, and I submit a lead on a 2020, Ford Explorer that goes into the BDC, there's an agent that gets that and then is going to work that. They're going to call me up and they're going to try to schedule an appointment for me to come into the dealership and do a test drive with one of the salespeople.
Yeah, correct. Even more so, their job is to build rapport about the dealership. Sell those why buys. Appointments should be the least one on the totem pole if you needed to responsibility chain. It really comes to you called the dealership or you emailed us.
Let's role play in a second. I'm going to cut you off because I'm going to get into Internet Manager, but then I want to come back and I want to role play. Do you like to role play?
Yeah.
Okay, because you do it for a living. Okay, so Internet Manager. Okay. What's an Internet Manager do? In your
oversee. In my experience, it would be oversee the BDC. Okay. Oversee the business development center and the agents.
So BDC
and really focus on
for internet managers.
Yeah.
Okay.
In hindsight.
Okay.
I would say internet manager as well is going to be gifted in reporting, making sure they see the return on the investments of the third parties that they have the influence on.
And then a step above that would be like an internet director or a BDC director. Is there a BDC manager and an internet manager basically the same job, just different names?
I would say so.
Okay.
I've seen internet or BDC agents be internet managers as well, because when they're calling back someone, people like to hear the word manager.
Right.
So of course,
I'm going to throw a disclaimer. We're going to role play here in a second. I want to put a disclaimer out there. I'm a 46-year-old single white man that lives in the middle of the country, and I have to admit that I have a guilty pleasure, which is I watch the Today Show every single morning. Almost because I'm a big fan of Al Roker and Craig. I forget Craig's last name, and Savannah Guthrie. Right. I even tweeted the Today Show today and said, stop making Carson Daly wear suits because he looks completely uncomfortable. So the reason I'm saying that is because if anybody's listening to this going, Jesus, Joey, how long have you worked in the business? You don't know the difference between two. Al Roker knows the answers to a lot of the questions that he asks. He just has to ask the really dumb ones, you know what I mean? To get to the bottom level. Because I don't think there's a lot of laymen in our industry, right? Would you you take a fish, I call it a fish fresh out of water, somebody, who's never even bought a car at a dealership or a truck, and they get a job in the BDC. They are just blasted with terms and with rules and with the training is always kind of usually wishy-washy, not always, but there's a lot of wishy-washy. It's a culture that can blow you away. And what I wanted to do with Dealer Life today with these conversations, talking shop, is just get to the nuts and bolts, right? If there's somebody out there that just started in a dealership like 2 months ago, maybe just, working the floor or the lot or the phones. So that's my disclaimer before we start role playing. Okay. So if we're going to role play, here's the deal. I own a 2019 Ford Explorer. True story. I bought a Gary Crossley Ford here in Kansas City, and I'm looking at getting into 2021, right? And I submit a lead, and I'm going to walk through this slowly. I submit a lead on the website, right? I got there by a Google search. I didn't go back to, I went to a different Ford store and I submitted a lead for 2021. So what happens next?
Sure. Time is of the essence. The goal would be as a BDC agent to be trained properly to read the lead. Let's start there. For all we know, you put in there, what is my new lease terms? Or is this vehicle available? That's really going to set the stage of going forward even before we contact.
I didn't write any comments. All I did was type my name in there and I put my phone number and my email address and I hit send. Mm-hmm. Nothing more except for I'm Joey Little at, Joey at dealerlifetoday.com, and I want this 2021, or I'm interested in this Explorer. So back that up a little bit to me, and don't use a bunch of jargon.
Okay. Sounds good. First thing, we're going to read the lead, right? You can tell a lot about a person based on their email address.
You've got your customer
if you're coming
service
from
voice
dealer,
on, by the way. I can tell you got your customer service voice on, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
It gets a little higher, doesn't it?
Go ahead.
I do it every day.
Sorry.
Clients who are going to watch this, they're going to be like, wow, you do that voice all the time. No, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read the lead. Look at the email. What information can we tell? If we don't have comments, that's okay. If you have something at dealer, what have you, we know you're working there, maybe 3 a.m. or what have you.
Dealer Life Today.
I didn't see.
So would you go to that site? Would you actually go to that site? If it wasn't a Gmail account, you would go to that site and see, okay, what is this?
Definitely.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. Even I would be a little creepier too. You know, if you threw in your zip code, which you probably would, because if you're coming from a Ford site or even coming from Google, more than likely we have your zip code. So if I don't know the town, I'm in small town USA, so probably we do. But if I didn't, I'm going to do a quick Google search to find out what the cool thing is for that town. Maybe even Facebook you if my CRM has that capability.
So you guys are doing the same thing that my sister does when I tell her that I've met a new lady and I'm going to go on a date with her. She's doing all the intel she can do online and pulling as much information as she can. That's what you stress.
Why not? It's out there. It's free information.
Well, can I tell you, even on the vendor side, working at AutoAlert, when I would have to do demos of the product at AutoAlert, even at Vince Solutions, I would Facebook search the dealer that I'm about to pitch the product to when I was helping sales out. And I remember seeing like a banner of one of the internet directors or whatever, and she had a Harry Potter banner on her Facebook before I jumped on the call with her. And so I kind of slipped it in the conversation. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I can't wait till I get off work and grab me a big frosty butterbeer. And she's like, oh, you know butterbeer? I'm like, yeah, I love Harry Potter. What about you? Oh my God. You know what I mean? So you're doing the same thing. You're pulling that information.
It makes sense too. So you know, we only get one opportunity to make a first impression with them. We don't want to be creepy about it too. Like, don't get me wrong. We won't be like, hey, I like Harry Potter. Do you? Well, that's
you want to do it like I did. You just slip in like a little, you know, like I was playing with my kid last night and I was eating those, you know, Harry Potter jelly beans that taste like trash, you know, like, oh my goodness, I love this. How soon? So how much time do you have to do this? Because how quick should you be getting on the phone to try to talk to that customer or that car shopper?
I like to multitask, right?
So you're doing it as the phone is ringing.
Why not? You know, I'm not going to throw out right in the beginning, hey, you like Harry Potter. You're going to give me a couple minutes, right? I want to do some light rapport build with you first. My first goal is to get on the phone with you. You know, if you have a number posted, they're giving us permission to give them a call. If
nobody answers, do you leave a voicemail?
Oh, exactly. A great news message.
You will use a voicemail?
Oh, definitely.
See, that drives me crazy.
Definitely. First time for sure.
I hate when I get voicemails.
You're on our turf though. You walked on the virtual show floor.
Yeah, no, I get you.
It'd be crazy for me not to open the door for you.
You putting it back in my face. Hey man, you gave me your phone number. I called you. I get it. What about these things I see where you can put a phone number in and it automatically puts you into their voicemail without ringing? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. It's great to get call volume out that way. It's kind of like a spray and
would that be like for soft leads, for like hand raisers or something like that?
I would say something that, definitely the manufacturer generated for us because they should be in a queue to purchase something else. But if it all comes down to genuality too, you know, you're not, like you were saying earlier, we want to naturally say, hey, you like Harry Potter. If it naturally comes in conversation, that's great. But for all we know, we're never going to mention Harry Potter because we're going to sell you in the why-buys of the car dealership. And
so you're trying to get me on the phone to know more about what my needs are. And if I don't pick up the phone, how soon is that first email contact if I give you my email address?
I'm always multitasking.
So
while it's ringing,
it's ringing and you're writing an email.
We got multi-screens here in the news BDCs, but ideally, yes, when the call is ringing, I'm going to do a quick search on you.
What about templates? Right? Is it templated emails? Or are you talking
templated? Yeah. Templated emails, but to a point where it's just a couple sentences. Like you can all tell like when it's a fake template email and it's just a novel. My first email is short and sweet. Hey, Joey, saw you emailed on X, Y, and Z. We're here to help. I left you a voicemail. Is this the best number to reach you at? I'm going to follow up with the text.
Now,
short, sweet, to the point.
I know that if you take somebody's phone number and it's associated with their Facebook account, their phone number is, if you put that phone number in a Facebook search, you can actually find who that person is. Is that something else that happens in the BDC? Are you doing as much to gather other intel of other like platforms to contact a customer that submitted their information?
I think the BDCs that have the bandwidth to do that find success. To say that that's the best practice. Ideally, the more people you call, the more people you make appointments for. But, especially now with budgets.
Don't send a friend request.
Well, I don't know about that because
all of a sudden I get a friend request from Craig Miller. Like, who's Craig Miller and why does he work at the Ford store?
Oh gosh. Well, especially in my new role here at CallRevu, I'm a huge Snapchatter, right? Let's just be real. Yes, I am an account manager with a. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to be stuffy. I don't want every communication that comes from me is an email that is, hey, great news. We're going to do a quarterly audit. My goal is to say, hey, I'm a human. I love the phones. That's why I work for a company that specializes in it. When questions arise, let me know. Right. So here's my chickens in the meantime.
So you would suggest, because I preach this for a long time, is to communicate on the channel that the customer wants to be communicated on. You are a Snapchatter, right? And if anybody wants to have like a decent conversation with you, you got to do it through Snap. That's where Katie kind of lives with her conversations, right?
Well, come on now. If it's something business oriented, there's different hats everyone wears.
No, but my goal for Snapchat. Me as a customer. Yes. Here's one thing. I gave you my email address, but I don't want to get emails from the dealership, right? And I really don't want to get any phone calls. I just want to. I don't know why I submitted a lead, or I do want to get a phone call. I'm just not ready to answer it right now. And if I tell the person who finally, when I answer the phone, they're like, hey, we got your email address. I'm going to send you a couple of emails. And I say, well, wait a minute. I prefer text, SMS, or I prefer Facebook. How many dealerships do you think are ready to address that challenge and run with it? Or if they're like, sorry, dude, we're still just going to email you.
That's a good question. There's some stores that think the CRM isn't necessary either. So
you cut out. I'm sorry.
That's a good. Some stores don't even believe a CRM is necessary. So to give a blanket number of how many aren't ready to do SMS texting, I don't know. But at the same time, there's a reason why some stores are thriving in the internet department and being able to convert the numbers they do, because they're able to adapt to, hey, you want me to send you a video of the walk around vehicle? You want me to FaceTime you while I'm in the vehicle? Even better yet.
So do customers' personas with the teams that you've worked with in the past, or even the teams that you work with across the country, are there certain agents that should be paired with certain car shoppers?
Oh,
when we talk about in a perfect world.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, that'd be amazing. Personalities clash. I think of a lot of times when being a BDC director, you could always be there for a TO when a newer BDC agent took a phone call, when you had a 45-year-old single man with a bulldog on the call, because people are more direct, right? You would rather have somebody that can mirror that conversation or mirror that persona. But end of the day, it just comes down to sales, to be able to switch between.
Because my dad's a bit over 65, right? And he's a rough and tough, man's man kind of a guy. And if there's a 20-year-old, like, kind of a timid, male or female that's trying to work with him on a deal, or trying to, my dad's going to he's going to walk away. He's going to be like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I feel like I'm going to make this guy cry. So I'm just saying, should dealerships take more? It has. So, but there hasn't been a whole lot of personality matching that you know of. Because of bandwidth?
That I know of. No, I think having the support of the manager, being able to switch between those personas, to be able to mirror, regardless of whatever personality that person has, is going to be helpful. I think that's the more realistic way to do about it, rather than say, okay, you folks are going to take this personality, I'm going to take this one, and you green peas are going to take the Gen Zs or what have you coming around the river bend. But I think just being able to communicate effectively will be helpful. And just mirror, end of the day, especially if they're rough and tough. There's a reason they're that way. They called so many other dealerships before. So to find out the reason of why they don't have the patience anymore, or what another dealership did to break their trust, is really the job of the BDC agent to figure out, and to sell the relationship to the dealership and get the appointment to show up.
The Gen Zers coming around the bend. Dig that.
River bend.
I'm going to let you go here in a little bit, because I've kept you on the phone, I think, or on the computer for almost a half an hour now, and I haven't seen that bulldog. in the last 20 minutes. So I have no idea what's destroyed in another room in my house. I intimidate him?
Maybe I did.
No, he can't hear you.
Maybe you heard my customer service voice.
No, he's a rhinoceros. He can't be hurt. How do you feel, since it is a people industry? It's a people, you got to be a people person industry. What do you feel about, BDC agents or internet managers or any of that taking these online quizzes like a Myers-Briggs test to find out exactly kind of like if they're an introvert or if they're an extrovert, because here's the deal. Okay. I hate I don't like to call people, even, I just don't like to call people. No, personally, yeah. I don't mind it, but professionally, I don't like to call people. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Even like with you getting on this call, I'm like, but if it was a personal call, I'm cool. I'm weird like that. And to come to find out, I have a Myers-Briggs that says I'm more of an introvert than I am an extrovert. Right. Have you thought of that being, this phone goddess that you are, that finding out the personalities of your team?
I think that would have saved us a lot of turnover from the other stores that I've worked with. However, it was the most efficient process that we used the BDC as a training house, meaning we were going to expect people to get quote unquote promoted to the show floor if that was their skill set. But we would use it as new salesperson, maybe doesn't have the skill set yet, or understand how to use a CRM, a customer relation management tool. If we're not, using acronyms. But our goal was to say, okay. Mm-hmm.
But then doesn't that take a lot of respect away from the BDC when everybody thinks it's a farm team for the rest of the dealership? When I say
that's where the culture comes in.
You know what I mean? Like a farm team, like in baseball.
There's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. I would definitely, that's where my personal skill set came out, is it's not a hierarchy. It's a straight line, left to right, right? The general manager is in the middle and you either go left to right. And there wasn't a hierarchy. It comes down to skill set. So I've had many sales consultants that are now probably GSMs in other stores that came from the BDC because we were able to identify in real world to say, okay, you are a smiling and dialer. And if that's your thing, great, own it, right? You're going to make pretty good money being a smiling and dialer. But if you want to, have more risk, more reward, let's go to the show floor. If that's not your thing, there's service. And I think having that precedence of this is what the department is at that store puts the guard down of, I'm just a peon, I'm just a BDC agent. Well, hey, if you want to build a skill set to go into another department, you can. We're going to help you. We're going to motivate you to do that. At the end of the day, if this is your skill set, it is what it is.
Are most dealerships, do most dealerships have a good pay plan for their BDCs?
No.
Okay. Too little. They're
not at all.
Paid enough?
Way too little.
Way too little?
Yeah, I think, way too little.
And why do you think that is?
Because they're task oriented. Because they're so processed that there's really not much extra way of needing to think beyond pick up the phone, you say this and you say that, what have you. And that's really where the really good BDCs, they were able to work with the team members' skill set and having TOs between each other and follow up on customers' databases. But then it all comes down to a commission plan too, right? So either you have a really low hourly rate and a really strong commission, or vice versa, you just have a really strong hourly. But at least from what I've seen in my small area here in Wisconsin, I don't see that being much value, regardless of the title.
Yeah. Well, Katie Wagner, stick around. I'm going to stop the recording here in a second, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit off this thing, just see how things are going with you and the kid and the husband and the chickens and all that. But I want to thank you for chatting with me, talking a little shop, because I don't know anything about it. And I feel like I interrupted you quite a bit during this interview. And I blame that on the fact that I know you personally. And so it can be kind of a fun banter with you sometimes. And I always like to see you get nervous because you're such a wonderful speaker and a lot, but then you get a little nervous, and I just kind of like to watch you squirm.
I'm fidgeting over here. But can I do a shameless plug?
Sure. I don't even know if anybody's listening anymore, but go ahead.
You never know. Maybe they fast forward it. But overall, well, let's talk shop. Overall, when you are being an internet director, right? The first thing let's look at is connectivity. Okay. That's one thing with CallRevu we're really good at, is making sure that the call is always connecting.
Are you doing a
with
pitch
sales.
for your company?
And with that being said, my number is 715-227-8073. Peace out.